Karoline Leavitt exposes Piers Morgan's lies on live TV with a secret recording, sparking a fiery clash that shakes the media world. Truth battles ego in a showdown you won't believe. The studio lights blaze down on the set of The Truth Unraveled, a talk show known for pitting ideological titans against each other. The host, Sarah Whitaker, stood center stage, her voice sharp and commanding as she addressed the buzzing audience. Tonight, we have a clash for the ages. In one corner, Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in history, a fierce defender of President Trump and a rising star in conservative media. In the other, Piers Morgan, the polarizing British broadcaster, known for his unapologetic takes and unrelenting criticism of both Trump and Elon Musk. Buckle up, because this is going to get heated. The crowd erupted, a mix of cheers and boos, as Karoline strode onto the stage. At 28, she carried herself with the poise of a seasoned veteran, her blonde hair pulled back, her navy blazer crisp. Her eyes, though, burned with determination. She'd faced down hostile press rooms before, and tonight was no different. Piers followed, his trademark smirk plastered across his face, his tailored suit gleaming under the lights. He waved to the audience, soaking in the mixed reception like it was applause. Sarah gestured for them to sit, the tension already crackling. Karoline, Piers, welcome. Let's dive in. Karoline, you've been vocal about President Trump's leadership, particularly his alliance with Elon Musk to reshape America's tech landscape. Piers, you've called that alliance, and I quote, a dangerous monopoly of ego. Let's start there. Karoline, your response? Karoline leaned forward, her voice steady but laced with fire. Sarah, Piers can throw around buzzwords like monopoly all he wants, but the truth is, President Trump and Elon Musk are delivering results. Starlink's internet access for rural communities, SpaceX's job creation, Tesla's energy innovation. These aren't theories. They're facts. Piers just can't stand that two strong men are reshaping the future without his approval, the audience murmured, some clapping, others shifting uncomfortably. Piers chuckled, shaking his head. Oh, Karoline, bless your heart. You're drinking the Trump-Musk Kool-Aid, aren't you? Those results you're crowing about? They're built on exploitation and hype. Musk's companies dodge regulations and Trump's just riding his coattails for clout. You're too young to see through the smoke and mirrors, love. Karoline's jaw tightened at the condescension, but she didn't flinch. Don't patronize me, Piers. I'm not your love, and I'm not naive. I've seen the data. I've been in the room where decisions are made. You're the one peddling narratives. For clicks, not me. Sarah jumped in, sensing the rising heat. Piers, let's keep this civil. You've accused Trump and Musk of undermining democracy. What's your evidence? Piers leaned back, crossing his arms. It's simple, Sarah. Trump's a chaos agent, always has been. Musk's no better, buying up platforms like X to control the narrative. They're not saviors, they're opportunists. Karoline's too busy cheerleading to notice. Karoline's eyes narrowed. That's rich, coming from you. You've made a career out of twisting stories to fit your agenda. You call it journalism. I call it manipulation, the crowd gasped, and Sarah raised a hand. Hold on, Karoline, that's a bold claim. Can you back it up? Karoline's lips curved into a slight, dangerous smile. Oh, I can. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Piers, you want to talk about controlling narratives? How about the time you skewed polling data on your show to make Trump look weaker than he was? Or are we pretending that didn't happen? Piers's smirk faltered for a split second, but he recovered quickly. That's nonsense. You're throwing out accusations with nothing to back them up. Typical Trump playbook: deflect and distract. The audience was on edge, sensing blood in the water. Sarah leaned forward. Karoline, if you've got evidence, now's the time. Piers, you're ready to respond? Karoline's hand rested on the table, her fingers tapping lightly. Oh, I'm ready, Sarah. The question is Is Piers ready for what's coming? The crowd roared, the tension electric. Piers' eyes locked onto Karoline's, his confidence wavering just enough to be noticeable. Something big was brewing, and everyone in the room could feel it. The crowd's roar pulsed through the studio, a living thing feeding off the raw hostility between Karoline Leavitt and Piers Morgan. Piers' eyes, still locked on Karoline's, flickered with a mix of defiance and unease. Her accusation about skewed polling data hung in the air like a guillotine blade, and the audience leaned forward, hungry for the next strike. Sarah Whitaker, the host, sensed the moment teetering on a knife's edge and pounced. "Karoline, you just dropped a bombshell," Sarah said, her voice sharp. "You're accusing Piers of manipulating polling data on his show. That's serious. Piers, you called it nonsense, but the floor's yours. Defend yourself." Piers adjusted his tie, his smirk returning, though it was tighter now, less assured. "Look, Sarah, this is what happens when you let a rookie like Karoline play in the big leagues. She's out of her depth, so she resorts to baseless attacks. Polling data? I've never touched it. My team reports what's given to us. If Karoline's got proof, let's see it. Otherwise, she's just blowing hot air," the audience murmured, some nodding in agreement, others skeptical. Karoline's expression didn't waver, her gaze cutting through Piers like a laser. "You're good at dodging, Piers. I'll give you that. But you're not slipping out of this one. You didn't just report bad data. You cherry-picked it to paint a false picture. And I'm not the only one who knows it." Piers laughed, but it was forced, a brittle sound. "Oh, please. Now you're inventing conspiracies. Who's feeding you this nonsense? Your buddies in the Trump war room? Or maybe Elon's got you on speed dial, whispering sweet nothings about my evil schemes." The crowd chuckled at the jab, but Karoline didn't blink. "Keep laughing, Piers. You're not as untouchable as you think. I've got something you didn't see coming, and it's going to burn." Sarah raised an eyebrow, glancing between them. "Karoline, you're doubling down. If you've got evidence, now's the time to show it. The audience deserves to know. What's behind these claims?" Karoline reached into her blazer pocket, her movements deliberate, and pulled out a small USB drive. The crowd gasped, the sound rippling through the studio. Piers' eyes widened for a fraction of a second before he caught himself, leaning back with a dismissive wave. "What's this, a prop? You're pulling a stunt now? This isn't reality TV, darling." "Don't call me darling," Karoline snapped, her voice like a whip. "And this isn't a stunt. This is your voice, your words, admitting you fudged numbers to make Trump's base look smaller than it was. You thought you could bury it, but you forgot one thing, Piers. I don't bluff." The audience erupted, a chaotic mix of cheers and shouts. Sarah held up a hand, trying to regain control. Hold on, hold on. Karoline, are you saying you have a recording of Piers admitting to this? That's a massive claim. Can we hear it?" Karoline held the USB drive up, her eyes never leaving Piers. "Oh, you'll hear it, Sarah. But let's make sure Piers is ready to face the music, because once this plays, there's no going back." Piers' face hardened, his charm slipping. "This is absurd. You're fabricating evidence, and I won't stand for it. Sarah, you can't let her turn this into a circus." Sarah hesitated, glancing at the producer offstage, who gave a subtle nod. "Piers, if Karoline's got something, we need to hear it. Transparency's the name of the game. Karoline, plug it in. Let's see what you've got." A stagehand hurried over, taking the USB and connecting it to the studio's audio system. The crowd was electric, buzzing with anticipation. Piers shifted in his seat, his fingers drumming on the armrest, betraying his nerves. Karoline sat back, her posture calm but her eyes fierce, like a predator waiting for the kill. The speakers crackled, and a voice, unmistakably Piers, filled the studio. "Look, we tweaked the numbers a bit. Make it look like Trump's losing steam. It's not hard, just a few points here and there." Nobody checks the raw data. The crowd exploded, gasps and shouts drowning out the rest of the clip. Piers' face, drained of color, his mouth opening, then closing, as if he couldn't find words. Karoline leaned forward, her voice low but venomous. Care to explain that, Piers? Or are you still calling it nonsense? The studio was chaos, and Sarah struggled to regain order. Piers, Karoline, we need answers. Piers, what's going on here? Piers' eyes darted to the crowd, then back to Karoline, his composure crumbling. This is edited. It's fake. She set me up. Karoline's smile was ice cold. Keep digging, Piers. The hole's only getting deeper. The studio was a pressure cooker, the audience's shouts and gasps swirling around Piers Morgan's faltering defense. His claim that the recording was fake rang hollow, his voice unsteady as he pointed a trembling finger at Karoline Leavitt. This is a setup, Sarah. She's fabricated that audio to smear me. It's a cheap trick, and I won't let it stand. Karoline's icy smile didn't waver. Her eyes locked on Piers like a hawk tracking prey. A cheap trick? That's your move, Piers, not mine. That was your voice, your words, and you know it. The only one smearing you is you. The crowd roared, some chanting Karoline's name, others jeering Piers. Sarah Whitaker, struggling to steer the chaos, banged her hand on the table. Enough! Piers, you're saying the recording's fake. Karoline, you're standing by it. We need to get to the bottom of this. Piers, explain why we should believe this audio isn't real. Piers leaned forward, his face flushed, his charm replaced by raw desperation. Sarah, I've been in this game for decades. I don't need to tweak numbers to make a point. This is a stitch-up, plain and simple. She's got some tech. Wiz, probably one of Musk's lackeys, doctoring audio to make me look bad. It's pathetic, Karoline laughed, a sharp, cutting sound that silenced the room for a moment. Pathetic? You're the one who got caught, Piers. And now you're blaming Elon Musk? That's a new low, even for you. The audio's real, and I've got the metadata to prove it wasn't tampered with. Want to keep lying, or are you ready to own up? The audience erupted again, the energy feverish. Sarah's eyes widened at the mention of metadata. Hold on, Karoline. You're saying you have proof the recording's authentic? That's a game changer. Can you share that with us? Karoline nodded, reaching into her blazer again and producing a folded document. This is a forensic analysis of the audio file, time-stamped and verified by an independent firm. It confirms the recording's integrity, down to the second it was captured. Piers, you can't spin your way out of this one. Piers' jaw clenched, his eyes darting to the document like it was a live grenade. That's nonsense. You expect me to believe some piece of paper proves anything? This is a witch hunt, Sarah. She's trying to destroy my career. Sarah took the document from Karoline, scanning it quickly before passing it to a producer, offstage. Piers, we'll have our team verify this, but if it checks out, you've got some explaining to do. Karoline, how did you even get this recording? This is explosive. Karoline's expression softened slightly, but her voice stayed firm. Let's just say I've got sources who are tired of people like Piers bending the truth for profit. Someone close to his team reached out, fed up with his games. They gave me the recording, and I knew I had to bring it here, where the world could hear it. The crowd cheered, but Piers slammed his fist on the table, his voice rising. Sources? You mean spies? You're admitting you've got people snooping on me, digging for dirt. That's not journalism, Karoline. That's espionage. Karoline didn't flinch, her voice steady as steel. Call it what you want, Piers. I call it holding power to account. You've been manipulating public opinion for years, and someone's finally had the guts to expose you. If you're mad, maybe you should have been more careful. The audience was on its feet, the noise deafening. Sarah tried to cut through the chaos. Piers, Karoline, let's focus. Piers, if this recording is real, why would you admit to something like that? What's the context? Piers' eyes flashed with anger, but there was fear there too. There is no context because it didn't happen. She's lying. The audio's fake, and I'm not going to sit here and let her ruin me with this ambush. Karoline leaned forward, her voice low and dangerous. Ruin you? You did that yourself, Piers. And I'm not done. There's more where this came from. The crowd gasped, the tension spiking to new heights. Sarah's mouth opened, then closed, as she struggled to process the escalation. More? Karoline, what are you saying? Karoline's eyes gleamed with quiet fury. I'm saying Piers has been playing dirty for a long time, and I've got the receipts to prove it. You ready for round 2, Piers? Piers' face was a mask of rage and panic, his hands gripping the table. The studio vibrated with anticipation, every eye on Karoline, waiting for her next move. The studio pulsed with raw energy, every breath hinging on Karoline Leavitt's next words. Piers Morgan's knuckles whitened as he gripped the table, his face a storm of fury and dread, his earlier swagger obliterated by the weight of her accusations. The audience, a sea of wide eyes and clenched fists, hung on the edge of their seats, sensing the confrontation barreling toward a breaking point. Sarah Whitaker, her voice taut, tried to wrest control of the spiraling chaos. Karoline, you just said you've got more evidence. That's a massive claim. Piers, you're denying everything. Karoline, what's next? What are these receipts you're talking about? Karoline's gaze never left Piers, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to his unraveling. Sarah, Piers has built his career on half-truths and selective outrage. That recording was just the start. I've got correspondence, emails from his own team, showing he didn't just tweak polling data once. It was a pattern, deliberate, to undermine President Trump's support and prop up his own narrative. The crowd gasped, a wave of shock rippling through the studio. Piers shot up from his chair, his voice booming. This is outrageous. Emails? You're hacking my team now? Sarah, this is beyond the pale. She's not a journalist, she's a vigilante. Karoline didn't blink, her voice cutting through his outburst like a blade. Sit down, Piers. You don't get to play victim. These emails were leaked to me by someone on your staff who couldn't stomach your lies anymore. They show you directing your team to adjust numbers, to make Trump's base look fractured. You called it shaping the story. I call it fraud. Sarah's eyes widened, her hands gripping the document Karoline had handed over earlier. Karoline, you're saying you have internal emails from Piers's team? That's explosive. Can we see them? Karoline reached into her blazer, producing a slim folder. These are redacted for privacy, but the content's clear. Dates, names, instructions, all pointing to Piers orchestrating a campaign to mislead his audience. I'll let the evidence speak for itself. A stagehand rushed to take the folder, projecting the emails onto a screen behind the set. The crowd murmured as snippets appeared. Push the narrative. Make the numbers look soft, one read, signed with Piers' initials. Another. Trump's base is weaker than they think. Let's lean into that. The audience's murmurs turned to shouts, a mix of outrage and disbelief. Piers' face was ashen, his voice hoarse. This is forged. She's making it up. Sarah, you can't let her parade this garbage as fact. My team would never betray me like this. Karoline's lips twitched, a flicker of a smile. Betray you? They didn't betray you, Piers. They exposed you. They're tired of covering for you. And don't try the forged excuse again. These emails are verified, just like the audio. You're running out of moves. Sarah, scanning the screen, shook her head. Piers, this looks bad. If these emails are real, it's not just about one mistake. It's a deliberate effort. What do you say to this? Piers' eyes darted to the screen, then to the crowd, his desperation palpable. I say it's a coordinated attack. She's working with Trump's people, maybe Musk too, to take me down. This isn't about truth, it's about revenge. The crowd booed, the sound swelling like a tide. Karoline leaned forward, her voice low but venomous. Revenge? No, Piers. This is about accountability. You've been manipulating millions of people and you thought you'd never get caught. But you messed with the wrong person. The audience roared, some chanting, Karoline! Sarah tried to cut in. Piers, Karoline, let's keep this focused. Piers, if these emails are real, why would your team leak them? What's the motive? Piers' voice cracked, his composure in tatters. Motive? They're disgruntled, probably paid off by her camp. This is a smear, Sarah, and I'm not going to let it stand. Karoline's eyes gleamed with quiet fury. You're right about one thing, Piers. It's not going to stand, because I'm not stopping here. There's one more piece of this puzzle and it's going to bury you. The crowd gasped, the tension snapping taut. Sarah's jaw dropped. Another piece? Karoline, what are you holding back? Karoline's hand rested on the table, her voice steady. Let's just say Piers' house of cards is about to collapse. You ready for the final blow, Piers? Piers' hands shook, his eyes wild with panic. The studio was a powder keg, and Karoline held the match. The studio crackled with tension, a live wire ready to spark. Piers Morgan's trembling hands and frantic eyes betrayed a man cornered, his empire of bluster crumbling under Karoline Leavitt's relentless assault. The audience, a roaring tide of anticipation, sensed the endgame. Karoline's calm, predatory stare held Piers in place, her words about a final blow echoing like a death knell. Sarah Whitaker, her voice tight with urgency, leaned forward. Karoline, you've dropped audio, emails, and now you're saying there's more. What is this final piece? Piers, you're on the ropes. Let's hear it. Karoline's hand moved to her blazer, slow and deliberate, pulling out a single sheet of paper. This, Sarah, is a signed affidavit from a senior producer on Piers's show. It details how he personally instructed his team to falsify data, not just for Trump, but for multiple stories, to boost ratings and push his agenda. It's not just one lie, it's a career built on deception. The crowd erupted, a deafening wave of gasps and shouts. Piers lurched forward, his voice a raw rasp. That's a lie. An affidavit? From who? This is fabricated, just like the rest. Sarah, she's making a mockery of your show. Karoline's voice cut through, sharp and unyielding. The producer's name is on the document, Piers. They're ready to testify. They've had enough of your bullying, your demands to twist the truth. You thought you could intimidate everyone into silence, but you underestimated me. Sarah took the affidavit, her eyes scanning the page before handing it to a producer. This is staggering. If this holds up, Piers, it's not just about one incident. It's systemic. Piers, what's your response? Piers' face was a mask of rage, his voice cracking. My response? This is a conspiracy. She's bought off my staff, forged documents, and spun a fairy tale to ruin me. I'm the victim here, Sarah, not her. The crowd booed, the sound a crushing wave. Karoline leaned back, her voice low but lethal. Victim? You've been victimizing your audience for years, Piers. You fed them lies to line your pockets. This affidavit is the nail in your coffin, and you know it. Sarah, struggling to maintain order, raised her voice. Piers, the evidence is piling up. Audio, emails, now an affidavit. Can you explain any of this, or are you sticking with, it's all fake? Piers' eyes darted to the crowd, then to the screen still displaying the damning emails. His shoulders slumped, the fight draining from him. I don't need to explain myself to her, he muttered. But the words lacked conviction, drowned by the audience's jeers. Karoline seized the moment, her voice rising with quiet power. You don't get to dodge this, Piers. You've spent years tearing down people like President Trump, Elon Musk, anyone who didn't fit your narrative. But today, the truth wins. You're exposed, and the world sees you for what you are. The crowd roared, chanting, Karoline! Sarah, sensing the tide, turned to the audience. Folks, this is unprecedented. Karoline's brought receipts, and Piers is struggling to answer. Let's hear from you. What do you think? A woman in the front row stood, her voice shaking with anger. Piers, you've been lying to us. Karoline's a hero for calling you out. The crowd cheered, others shouting agreement. Piers sank into his chair, his face pale as the studio vibrated with righteous fury. Sarah turned to Karoline, her tone almost reverent. Karoline, you came prepared. What's your message to the viewers at home? Karoline looked directly into the camera, her eyes fierce but steady. This isn't about me, it's about truth. Journalism isn't about clicks or ego, it's about facts. If we don't hold people like Piers accountable, we lose trust in everything. Let's demand better. The audience leapt to their feet, applause thundering through the studio. Piers, defeated, stared at the floor, his legacy in tatters. Sarah wrapped the show, her voice barely audible over the crowd. That's all for tonight. Karoline Leavitt has shaken the media world, and Piers Morgan's credibility hangs by a thread. Stay tuned for what's next. As the cameras cut, the audience swarmed Karoline, shouting support. Online, X lit up with hashtags like "Your Karoline exposes Piers" and "Truth wins," her performance sparking a movement for media integrity. Piers slipped out a side exit, hounded by reporters, his career a smoldering ruin. Karoline, hailed as a champion, walked off stage, her head high, knowing she'd struck a blow for honesty that would echo far beyond the studio walls.